Hey everybody, welcome back to my kitchen. It is starting to get cooler out. As you can see, we have the fire going. It is November, and that means Thanksgiving and Christmas are really right around the corner. And for me, an essential part of the Thanksgiving meal in particular is cranberry sauce. And I do not particularly enjoy the store-bought canned version of cranberry sauce, so I'm going to make my own today, and I'm going to show you how to do it. It's very simple, and I'm gonna can it. I'm gonna water bath can it so that I'll have multiple jars to last me. Sometimes I like to make a little mini Thanksgiving meal with like a roast chicken or whatever throughout the winter months. And have some cranberry sauce on the side with that as well. It's also a good gift for Christmas if you're into giving homemade food items in like little gift baskets for your friends and family. Some cranberry sauce is a nice addition to that. And the recipe I'm going to be using today is out of this Blue Book Guide to Preserving. It's like a magazine. It's Ball Blue Book Guide to Preserving. And it's quite simple. There's only a few ingredients. This is going to make 6 pint jars of cranberry sauce, and we're going to use 2.5 pounds of cranberries, which if you're buying like the bags of cranberries in the grocery store, it was a little more than 3 bags. It wasn't quite 3.5 bags. It was just like a little bit over 3 bags. I did weigh it out on a kitchen scale, but just for your reference when you're buying them. So 2.5 pounds of cranberries, 4 cups of sugar, 4 cups of water, and then I'm also going to add the zest of 1 orange. That's obviously optional, but I do like to have a little bit of the orangey flavor in there. I think sometimes people add like a little cinnamon, a little allspice or something like that. So if there's any spices you want to add in too, you can get creative with it. It's your thing. So however you like it. I do like it a little plainer, which is the orange. So that's what I'm going to do. So we're going to really get going. I already have my canner coming up to a boil. I have my jars being kept warm in the oven. So this is gonna come together super quick. It's not even as labor intensive or time consuming as a simple jelly. It's very fast. So we will have some finished cranberry sauce ready to enjoy very quickly. So we'll move over to the stove and we are going to start cooking. All right, so I got my pan here. You can use any kind of heavy bottom saucepan for this. So I have my 4 cups of water. And 4 cups of sugar. And we're gonna mix this in and bring it to a boil. This is like an organic cane sugar, so it's not dyed white. So that's why, if you notice, it did have a little bit of like an off color. Kind of depends on what batch you get. It can range from pretty light or it gets like a darker brown color, almost looks like the color of like light brown sugar. It's a little bit less processed than the white cane sugar that you'll get. All right, so I have this up to high heat. We're just gonna get this up to a boil. And then once it comes to a boil, we're gonna allow it to boil for 5 minutes. And then I'm gonna add my cranberries in. I did give these a nice rinse. And I kind of picked through them just to make sure there weren't any kind of yucky cranberries mixed in there. So I'm gonna check back in a couple minutes, or a minute or so once this starts boiling. Okay, so this has been boiling for 5 minutes, so now I'm gonna go ahead and add in the cranberries. And I'm also gonna zest in my orange at this time. Cranberry and orange is one of my favorite fall flavor combos. You do want to be kind of careful because these will start to pop. You want to be in the firing range. So basically what we're gonna do is I'm just gonna, you know, kind of give a constant stir on this, but we're gonna cook this until all the skins burst open of these cranberries. And this, of course, I didn't really specify at the beginning of the video, but this is going to be a whole berry cranberry sauce, not the gelled kind. Like the jelly, cranberry jelly, I guess. Although that is nostalgic when you would slide it out of the can with the little rings and everything. That's not what I'm doing today. Really smell the orange. Very nice. And this shouldn't take very long. A few of them have already started to kind of pop open. And so cranberries are very high in pectin, which is what causes the liquid to solidify, to get gelled. So this will, you know, gel up on its own once all the skin bursts open of the cranberries, and it releases all the pectin into the juice. So pretty too, very festive. Last year I made a bunch of strands with the cranberries, and dried oranges and stuff. So pretty. You can hear them popping open. I wouldn't expect this to take more than 5 minutes, but I'll check back in once we're a little closer and I'll show you what it looks like, and then we'll get it ladled into our jars. All right, so it's been about 7 minutes or so. This has been boiling away. So this is what it should look like when you're ready to can it up now. It's nice and thick. All of our cranberries have broken open. It's gotten this nice, deep, beautiful cranberry flavor, color that we're used to. So I'm gonna go ahead and turn the heat off on this and get my jars out of the oven and ready to fill. If you didn't want to go ahead and can them, if you could just pour it, you know, let it cool and put it in the fridge, or you probably could freeze it if you wanted to. But I want to have this to be a shelf-stable product, so I'm going to go ahead and water bath can it at this time. So let me get this turned off. We'll get our jars out and we'll move this over onto the counter area and get the jars all filled up. All right, so I got my cranberry sauce, I got my hot jars here. We have a funnel to pour the product into the jar. I have the bands, and I have canning lids. I also have this to measure our head space. You want half an inch of head space, and you can find that on the side of here. And we can also use this end to just make sure there's no air bubbles. And I have my jar lifter to put the jars in and out of the canner. I'm just missing a ladle. Key components. All right, here we go. And this was supposed to make 6 jars. Sometimes with canning, it's not always 100% exact, but we'll see here what we come up with. It's usually pretty close, but sometimes it doesn't end up being dead on. Especially when you're spilling stuff everywhere like I appear to be. cuckoo clock. You can already see how thick this has gotten. I really love cranberry sauce. I know it's not everyone's favorite, and I actually don't mind because then there's more for me. I just love it. I think it's so good. Yeah, and I can already tell I'm not getting 6 jars out of this. Where's my oven mitt? Tip this. And sometimes it happens, like if you cook it down a little more, obviously the more you cook it down, the thicker it's gonna get, so it's not gonna take up as much volume. So that may have been something that occurred. Cranberries could have more or less water, because obviously that is just a natural fruit, so it's not always going to be an exact science. So yeah, I only got 4 jars out of that. Oops. So I'm going to check my headspace. So I'm going to find my 1/2 inch marker on here. I'm going to put that onto the top of the jar, and then the product I want to be at the bottom when I line the 1/2 inch at the top. So yep, this one needs a little more. That one's pretty good. That one's pretty good. That one, so I just need to add a touch more, which I have a little bit left. Smooth it out. Find the 1/2 inch step, and there we go. So now I'm gonna use this end. I'm just gonna push it down in here just to make sure there's no air bubbles. This looks really good. Looks like a really nice batch. Very pleased. Here. Now I'm just gonna take a wet, like a damp paper towel, and just make sure that there's no stuff on the top of this jar that would prevent the lid from sealing correctly. Just want to make sure that there's nothing in between the lid and the jar. A lot of times when your lids don't seal correctly, it's because you didn't have a clean rim. And you do want to be careful because everything is very hot here. All right. I'm gonna pop my lids on. And then you don't want to crank these on too much, just finger tightness. And now we can go ahead and get them in the canner. And this is at a full rapid boil. Get our jars transferred into here. basket down, put the lid back on, and these are gonna process for 15 minutes. I just scooped out what was left in my pot. Give a little taste. It's really good. Not too sweet. And it has the little bit of orange flavor in there. Very yummy. It's making me excited for turkey and stuffing. And that day after sandwich, the gobbler. I don't know if that's a New England thing, but basically what it is, well, nice if it's like a nice thick piece of toast, sourdough bread or something. You get your leftover turkey, your leftover stuffing, some cranberry sauce, maybe a little bit of mayo, very light, but I think just the cranberry sauce adds enough moistness. And yeah, you got yourself a nice little sandwich there. So if you've not heard of that, definitely make that with your leftovers. All right, so that has, those are still processing in here. We'll take them out in about 10 minutes. All right, so my 15-minute timer just went off. So I am going to now just take the basket, and I'm just gonna let the jars sit here in the basket for about 5 minutes, and then they can be moved onto my countertop on a tea towel to cool. I usually let them sit there overnight for 24 hours or so. Sometimes if I start my canning project like first thing in the morning, then by the evening I'll put them away. But I'll likely just let those sit there until tomorrow. Did you hear that? I heard a little pop, a ceiling pop. It's a good sound when you're a canner. So in the morning I'll check them, make sure they're all sealed. If you've not watched my other canning videos and you're not sure how to determine that, basically you just press down on the jar lid, and it should be a solid, it should be solid. There shouldn't be any movement up and down in the lid at all. You should be able to take the band off and hold it up just by the lid, and it should be strong enough of a seal to hold together without falling off. So that's how you can tell if you have a really good seal. It'll often seal pretty quickly. Like I just heard a couple of them going off in the canner just as I was speaking. So usually it happens pretty quick, but for whatever reason, it takes a few extra minutes for certain jars. But I hope you enjoyed this video. I do hope you try to make your own cranberry sauce this year instead of buying the stuff at the store. Although it is nice and nostalgic, it's it's pretty cool to be able to make your own. At least try it. I think you'll taste a difference. It's a lot fresher. You can control the ingredients. You can add orange if you want. You can add a cinnamon stick. So you can really, kind of tailor it to your preference, and then you can kind of brag and be like, oh look, my homemade cranberry sauce. So it's so easy, so why not, and you can do it weeks ahead of time, so it's not like another thing you have to scramble to make for like the big day. You can do it now and it'll be ready to go whenever you need it. So if you did like the video, if you wouldn't mind giving me a thumbs up, that would be really great. Leave me a comment, let me know what you think. Subscribe to the channel. Any and all of those things would be awesome. I really appreciate it. You could also find me on Instagram at Mrs. White Homemade Life if you would like to follow me there as well. I really appreciate any of the comments or anything that you all leave, and yeah, it's really great. So again, I do hope you enjoyed. Yeah, I think that's it. I think that's all I got. I'll be back for another video or two before Thanksgiving. But if you don't tune in, happy Thanksgiving and happy cranberry saucing.